Good afternoon, good morning. Welcome to Focus on Liberia special edition with Edward Amara, Focus on Liberia West African Correspondent. This special audio edition is purely looking at the latest coup d'etat in Niger, which took place on Wednesday, the 26th of July 2023. This is just an audio edition focused on Liberia special audio edition. From Mali in the west to Sudan in the east, a whole swath of Africa is now run by the military. Niger was one of the few democracies left in the Sahel belt, which stretches across the continent. But now the army has seized power. There are concerns over what this means for the troubled region. Niger's President Mohamed Bazoum, a key Western ally in the fight against Islamic militants, was defiant after soldiers announced a coup on Wednesday. But he has been detained. The chief army has backed the military, and it isn't clear who is really in charge as of yesterday. Former colonial power France and the US have military bases in the Ukrainian-rich country, and both were quick to condemn the coup. There are concerns that the Niger's new leadership could move away from its Western allies and closer to Russia. If it does, it would follow the path of two of its neighbors, Burkina Faso and Mali, which have both pivoted towards Moscow since recent military coups in their own country. They had been under intense pressure from Islamic groups, which operated freely across much of both of the countries. Although Niger had been battling its old jihadist insurgents and rural banditry, it had appeared relatively more stable than its neighbors. The number of reported deaths from political violence since 2021 was far lower in Niger, according to the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, ACAD. But the jihadist threat was the major reason why the military seized power, arguing that they need to fight against the insurgencies. Colonel Major Amadou Adramani, who spoke on behalf of the junta, cited the deterioration of the security situation and poor socio-economic situation as the reasons for the takeover. His statement could easily have been made by the coup leaders in either of Niger's neighbors, despite the very different situation on the ground. But despite the coups in both those countries, and the presence of a reported 1,000 heavily armed mercenaries from Russia Wagner Group in Mali, deaths from jihadist attacks have actually risen since the military takeovers. There have also been well-documented cases of human rights abuses, including the killing of hundreds of civilians in Mali by the security forces and foreign fighters. President Mohamed Bazoum's government has also been a major partner to European countries trying to stop the flow of migrants across the Mediterranean Sea, agreeing to take back hundreds of migrants from the detention centers in Libya. He has also cracked down on human traffickers in what had been a key transit point between other countries in the west and those further north. That may now be called into question. And if Western and UN troops are asked to leave Niger, as they have been in Mali and Burkina Faso, it will be a big blow to the fight against Islamic insurgents, who are likely to move quickly to take advantage of any instability in the country. Pro-Kremlin commentators have been heard on state-run media and telegram groups describing the coup as a pathway for Russia's entry into Niger. However, the Kremlin spokesperson has called for Bazoum's release and for peaceful resolution to the crisis. Despite the presence of some supporters of the coup waving a Russian flag and condemning France, the former colonial power, there is no evidence of any Russian involvement into the military takeover. So we are waiting to hear what the junta leaders say and the country's future strategic alignment, whether it maintains its ties with the West or joins its neighbors in embracing a new Russian sphere of influence in Africa. The latest seizure of power also raises questions about whether the slow advance of democracy seen across Africa in recent decades is now under threat. Even as West Africa regional bloc, ECOWAS seek to broker a peace resolution, the stability of the region is more fragile than it has been for some time. General Abdourahmane Tiani has declared himself the new leader of Niger after a dramatic coup that is in today. Also known as Amara, he staged a takeover which started on Wednesday when the Presidential Guards unit he led seized the country's leader. Deposed President Mohamed Bazoum was the first elected leader to succeed another president since independence in 1960. Mr. Bazoum is currently thought to be in good health and still held captive by his own guards. He had been considered a key ally by the Western nations in the fight against Islamic militants in the region. France has said that it does not recognize any of the coup leaders and will only recognize Mr. Bazoum as the head of state. We reiterate in the strongest terms of the international community's clear demand for the immediate restoration of constitutional order and democratically elected civilian power, a statement from the French Foreign Ministry read. The coup has also been roundly condemned by international bodies, including the African Union, West African Regional Bloc, that is ECOWAS, the EU, and the UN. However, the leader of Russia Wagner mercenary group has reportedly praised the coup, describing it as a triumphant entry. What happened in Niger is nothing other than the struggle of the people of Niger with their colonizers. Yevgeny Prigozhin was quoted as saying on a Wagner affiliated Telegram channel. The BBC has not been able to verify the authenticity of this reported comment. General Tiani, 62, has been in charge of the Presidential Guard since 2011 and was promoted to the rank of general in 2018 by former President Mahamadou Issoufou. He had also been linked with a 2015 coup attempt against the ex-president but appeared in court, which he denied. Speaking in a televised address, Mr. Tiani said his junta took over because of several problems in Niger, including insecurity, economic woes, and corruption, among others he mentioned. He also addressed Niger's global allies, saying the junta would respect all of the country's international commitment as well as human rights. Niger coup is the latest in a wave of military takeover that have hit the West African region in recent years, toppling government in countries including Mali, Guinea, and Burkina Faso. Despite the presence of some supporters of the coup waving a Russian flag and condemning France, the former colonial power, there is no evidence of any Russian involvement. It also becomes as a blow to the leadership of ECOWAS. Just 2 weeks ago, the bloc's chairperson